I hope you are enjoying your holidays. So if you're watching this after the fact, these set of videos were released during the Advent calendar, so 24 days in the run up to Christmas, 24 releases. We begin the Telemon by airbrushing Deep Red by scale 75 across all the areas that will be red. Allow it to dry, load up the brush with opaque white, and then we take some steel wool, spread it across the surface, and then airbrush white on top. The aim here is not to produce a marbled surface. Instead, what we are trying to achieve is a textured surface. Next up, we are taking Blood Red by scale 75, and we are thinning this down to around 70% thinner, 30% paint. This is a glazed layer. As you can see, it doesn't really pigment the underneath that much. It isn't a very strong coloration we have here. You can still very clearly detect the underlying white and darker red involved. Two very thin layers will do us nicely. Next up, Huldra Blue. Same consistency, very thin, and I will be airbrushing this into the shadows. So around the base of the shoulder pads and anywhere that I want to give a natural fade to. Next up, the Secret Weapon, Deep Red by Winsor & Newton. Now, when we airbrush this over the top, it is very highly pigmented and it will take a while to dry. So I would advise that even after a gloss varnish, you allow it to set for around 2 to 3 days before manipulating it. Here I use Wilder masking fluid to cover up all the red aspects and wait around 10 minutes in preparation for the gold stages. To begin the process, I use copper and dwarven gold 50-50 mix from the Vallejo air range, as well as scale 75. Then I put a dash of thinner in there. So mix up, this is the kind of colour we want to end up with. Overall, we're going for a slightly darker gold effect, a more weather-beaten gold, not a bright, glorious gold. I apply a single, 2 to 3 layers of this to achieve a consistent result across the entirety of the Telemon. The next stage is Silver by Vallejo Air, and for this stage we are creating a pre-coat. So instead of overcoating a miniature with white in order to establish a sketch highlight, we're doing a similar thing here, only the copper plus gold mix is our black and the silver is our white. Here I'll plot out reflection points and I'll go on to develop shadows and midtones from here. But if you are unsure exactly where to place your shadows and highlights, hold the miniature underneath a single strong light source, take a picture, revolve the miniature and take those pictures from multiple different angles, and then sketch in those tones here. No matter how bizarre they may seem, they give working from that photograph gives a more accurate color representation and reflection of light than just simply twirling the miniature around. I'm very fortunate that when I work on camera I can see the reflection points, so I'm able to sketch them out as we go along. Here's what the Telemon looks like at the very end. Feel free to use this as the basis for your own Telemon Dreadnought. I'll leave a freeze frame here. Next up, my old favourite, Oro Imano, or Dwarven Gold by Scale 75. Now, we need a lot more thinner in this solution. This is a gold wash. This overlaps the shadows and the highlights. Now, the highlights will receive maybe 2 coats in total. The midtones will receive 3 to 4, and the shadows, well, they'll probably stay as they are. They'll receive just as much as the highlights would. Here we are trying to re-establish the midtone. We're trying to blend everything together to have a much more natural looking surface to build the shadows into. That seems like a good place to stop for part 1. Part 2 coming up.